Hello, my name is Magdalena Castro, and this is my Capstone 11 social justice project. So this project is something that's very close to my heart. I'll be discussing the high school to prison pipeline, which is a problem that affects many around the world and even here in LA in my neighborhood. I would like to thank the 3 people that I interviewed, Officer Rocha, Jenny, and Eileen. Thank you so much. Without them, this project wouldn't have been possible. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy.
It's pretty self-explanatory in my opinion. So basically, like, obviously 4 years of high school, and then like if you don't choose good for your life, or like you don't want a future or anything, like, and you let other people, you know, influence you to do bad stuff or anything, you could end up in the streets or in prison. So that's kind of what I believe that, you know, high school to prison means.
Hear the term high school to prison pipeline, I believe it's referring to high school dropouts or individuals who don't continue school or their education after high school, and they try seeking for easy money, which causes them to get into things like crimes, like such as, let's say, drug trafficking, gangs, or like they just decrease all their opportunities in life, and that leads them to ending up in prison, which basically, I wouldn't say ruining their life, but for sure, like, that's what I think it refers to. And then I think it impacts our students in our community, because if there's like a lot of, let's say, high school dropouts, and then they end up in prison, once they come out, they could like maybe not have learned their lesson. And we do live in a city where there's a lot of like violence, and there's a lot of teenagers or people at a young age who are being very open and introduce drugs, which could lead them to seeking for easy money as well, and leading them to going to prison.
All the elements that have taken place in high school right now, due to policies that have been going on for the last 30 years, have affected the educational status, the social status, and also the mental health status, and education-wise, academically, and therefore it has caused a situation where more and more young people are being driven toward a prison life, and that's exactly what that term means.
I believe that a stable support system could contribute to that, because many kids look for support in adults or like people that could help them and like become better. Like, it could be even in academics or like behavior, disciplinary issues, anything. They seek for support systems, and sometimes if they don't find it, then they could end up bad.
Maybe academic policies, or and I would say academic policies, because if there's not a very stable school system, it leads for like students to have no type of rules, and then if you don't call like attention to wrongdoings that they're doing, they might like believe that something that they're doing is the right thing, when in reality it's wrong. Just for like an example, I would say like ditching class or being tardy, like in the real world, or when you're working in an office, that's not like something ideal. Like, and if like at school they don't follow or call the attention that you're doing like wrong, then that could really affect you in the real world, like when you're older. So I think academic policies is a factor that contributes to the high school to prison pipeline.
So number one, No Child Left Behind. That was an issue that came on, several years ago. that aspect of it actually lowered standards in our high schools. And by doing that, it did a disservice, in my opinion, to the kids. Therefore, once they graduate from high school, they think they're prepared, but they're really not. And then they have to take lower end jobs. They have to maybe make more money out on the streets, hustling and bustling. That leads them to a life of crime. So that's just one aspect of it. Another aspect of it has also been the taking away of some of the mechanical classes like mechanics, economics, certain things that have been taken away, wood shop, all these different things that certain kids would have an opportunity to learn a certain task and skill set were taken away. So that in and of itself as well has contributed to an issue as well. Also, the disciplinary issue that's come down from the state legislature where they no longer suspend kids. So if a kid is disruptive, they can't do anything about it, right? So that creates also a lawlessness in the school system that also then translates over to society, to the communities that they live in, and therefore it also contributes to a pipeline into prison.
I think that the school is a big thing because like teachers, staff, or principals could not listen to the student and what they say, and like they don't take like acknowledgement into their opinions and how they feel. Like by experience, I know this because you know, teachers don't listen and they want to always be right, and even though they think that even though they're adults that they're always right and that like the student is wrong, which, you know, adults could be wrong too. So
I do know that suspension and expelled exist, but I feel like in schools, or at least in my school, it's not really seen. Like I've never really seen or heard someone getting expelled or suspended for like things that they're doing. And I honestly think that it all depends on like the student or the individual, and if they want to like stop doing what they're doing wrong, they're gonna do it like willingly and freely, not through a suspension or by them being expelled. Because yes, a person could get expelled or suspended, but once they come back, they might not care. They might have just like, they might have taken it like, oh, I had some days off and now I'm back and I don't really care what they said, and they're gonna keep doing what they're doing, if that makes sense. So it all depends on the person.
Well, for example, I just mentioned a little bit of it. For example, if you don't suspend that child, then they believe, oh, there's no consequences, right, for my actions. Therefore, when they become an adult, they'll continue to do things where they think there's no consequence to their actions, and then they get arrested. And that contributes to the justice system just being boggled down. And then they feel that society is doing them wrong because, hey, I've been going all through school, I've been doing my thing, and there's been no disciplinary issues or no consequences, so to speak. And now they feel like they're being targeted. And it's not. It's just we're doing a disservice in our schools by not disciplining our kids the way we should be.
So in my case, by experience, I've experienced, you know, like being discriminated in a way because of my race and, you know, how I am, because I don't like to, you know, if I know you're wrong, it's pretty obvious, you know, then, you know, I'm gonna call you out for it, like if you're a teacher or something. So by experience, you know, I know that.
If I'm being honest, I don't think I've officially or like observed here at my school someone being disproportionately disciplined by their race or socioeconomic status, so I can't really say anything.
I think in a way I've noticed it where lack of discipline has been done to certain kids, and some reasons it's because they want to give them a second chance, right? I wouldn't say based on race so much, but I would say more on social inequities. For example, if you, I've been to a lot of schools here in the LAUSD school district system. Little to no disciplinary issues. Why? Is it because of the community they live in? Is it because they're low income? Is it because they're trying to be more lenient and give them a second chance? Now you go to another school district in Orange County, harsh disciplinary issues, very little problems, right? So is it because they're a higher economic status? I don't know, right? So those are the things that need to be evaluated on. But I think sometimes, I haven't seen it per race. I think it's more like an economical issue, and they think that these kids need more help, so they give them more resources, and that may be true. But I think sometimes we go too far, and if we don't hold people accountable, regardless of who they are, it's a human condition. When you don't hold people accountable, they end up pushing the envelope and doing more things, and that leads them more to commit more small crimes, which later lead to a bigger crime later on.
I think, like I said before, being a better support system and being there for the student, not just one student or two, but like the whole, students who come looking for help, or like if a student is scared to ask for help, then they could, announce it, so the student could be more aware and like not afraid, and they could just, listen and help out in what they can.
I don't think schools could do anything. Yeah, they could like get them a student suspended, expelled, have a talk with their parents, or even like put them into therapy if they're going through something. But I feel like a person, as I said like before, a person will only change if they want to change or if they want to be changed. I don't think you could change a person by like getting them suspended, expelled, because it's all up to them.
Well, I think every child, especially in low income, is in danger of falling into that trap. So schools can do a lot of different things, but the teachers' hands are tied. So it needs to start from the legislature part of it. That whole thing where we don't suspend kids needs to be addressed. You can suspend them, but don't leave them in the classroom. Don't send them home either. Send them to a different portion of it, almost like a detentionary thing, where now they have to, okay, you don't want to be in the classroom, you're going to be here, and it's going to be a little harder for you. So give them that consequence, so that they have an option, right? So they don't want to send them home and suspend them. I get it. They don't want to put a burden on the family and what have you. But the answer is not leaving them in the classroom and then allowing them to disrupt the kids that do want to learn, because then adds a resentment from the good kids, and then they're going, well, if you're not giving him any consequences, why are you gonna, why should I try hard if you're gonna let this kid to go through? So that's one thing that needs to be addressed. The disciplinary issue has to be addressed as well, and in resources too. A lot of schools don't have the proper resources. They don't have enough counselors. They don't have enough mental health professionals, and we need all those things. And then also they need to have parenting skill set workshops for the parents in all these schools. This is a hugely important thing. They don't spend the efforts and the money on that, and I think they would really have a payoff.
I think it's a bit of both, because like it really depends on like the school and the what is it called, resource officer. It really depends on them, because some could have different opinions and act different on their actions, and it could, like, some don't care, some do care, so it really all depends.
I don't think it positively nor negatively affects the school, because if I'm being honest, in my school I don't really see them. I've seen them like once, and that was about 2 years ago, but other than that, they're never really seen at school, so I don't think they really affect the school in a positive or negative way.
I think it has a dual effect. It can positively affect it, and it can also negatively affect it. So the schools have a very similar structure to prison. Think about it. You go in a room, right? You lock the door. You have one person watching over you. When you put police officers on the school grounds, for some communities, that looks like the jailer, right? Who's patrolling and looking after all those schools. So if you look at it systematically, how it's designed just like a prison, right? So what needs to happen is we need to have a more educational presentation with the officers, a bigger relationship with the students, and a greater understanding of how that community in and of itself in the school can really become the village that we always talk about. And that needs to be addressed.
Honestly, I believe it really depends on like the person or the student. It all just depends on like what the student does, because at the end of the day, like everyone has a choice to do what they want. Like if you do something, it's because you want to do it. Like just because there's another person, that other person doesn't like, just because they're there doesn't mean they know what you're going through, unless you call for help or like ask for help. Like if you want to help yourself, then let somebody else help you help yourself, you know?
I feel like if a student really wants help and wants to change, and they're like open to that, they're going to seek for that help. And it does help to a certain extent and to a certain limit. But as I said like previously, a person will not change unless they voluntarily want to change and become a better person. So it's really up to the person's choice.
I think it's huge. I think it's important, but it also can't be used as a crutch, right? Because once you provide these things, you have to have other resources as well, because then everybody else cry wolf, right? Oh, I'm having a bad day too. I need a wellness day, right? And they use it to get out of responsibilities. So it needs to be balanced, but I think it would really help, because there's a lot of kids who are suffering, a lot of families who are going through stuff, and we need resources not just for the kids, but for the family as a whole. And I think it would be a great improvement.
Yes, there's many. Like by experience, there's around, that I know of, there's 4. There's cadets, junior cadets, Jeopardy, and Teen CPAP, which is all like teenagers, or for junior cadets is like little kids from 7 to 13 that could join to not just be disciplined, but to just have a more overall picture of what LAPD is like, and like, you know, not just a picture of what people think it's like. And it really helps for anybody, not just like for bad kids, but for like anybody who just wants to like do something, you know, better, work out, whatever, you know, it's fun.
I think there's about 4. There's junior cadets, Jeopardy, and Teen CPAP. I've personally been in Jeopardy and Teen CPAP. So for Jeopardy, I just feel like it's a really good program for a student or a kid and teenagers to be put in if they want to get more disciplined. Because I feel like, as for my experience, it has helped me grow, and I've really like with the officer who runs it, I feel like he's a really good person to ask advice from, and they do help you grow as a person.
Yeah, absolutely. I think community based organizations, and we have some now, like the GRID program and so forth, that work with the school. So right now they're in the community, but they're not linked, right? They're not linked with the schools. What we need to do is we need to link all the community youth programs, the YMCAs, the everything, and have them have a sister or brother school linked together. Also get the churches and do the same thing with the churches. That's what really cohesively in a community needs to happen.
think there should be like some sort of training, like empathy or compassion training, to teach not just teachers or staffs, but like everybody to understand the younger people, like kids, and what their struggle is in a day-to-day basis, because they might just say, oh yeah, like, you know, kids don't do nothing, like they just go to school and go home. But no, they actually struggle through things that adults may think it's different, and they really don't know what, you know, younger people go through in the day of today.
Maybe adding like more cultural events or clubs for students who come like from different backgrounds to feel more included and feel like their culture is being included in their school. So yeah, that's about it.
First of all, we need to stop lowering the standard. That's not the answer. While we're lowering the standard in this country, every other country around us, even third world countries, are lifting up the standard. So if we really want to give our kids a chance to really make it in the world, and not just in this country, but I mean around the world, we need to stop lowering the standard. So what we need to do is heighten the standard and then create a mentoring and a tutoring program for those kids, okay? After school programs that are going to take a kid that's really interested in math or struggling in math and really push them to his limit. The kids that really have a knack for English, but they're struggling, push them to their limits. And be specific on what we're tutoring our kids with. Give them the resource that they need on the subject matters that they're interested in. When kids are interested in a certain subject matter, we need to nurture that. And that makes them really excited to be in school. And that'll better all of their academic all the way around.
It affects you because basically, like, whatever you go on at home or like your personal life, it affects you if you go to work or school or anything else. Like, you know, let's say, you know, when you wake up, you don't have transportation, you don't have your own car, or like, I mean, a student really doesn't have to worry about that because, you know, you could take the bus or you could get dropped off. But let's say the parent, they don't have a car, so they're like, oh yeah, like take the bus. So it affects you, and like especially if you're doing it like every day, you're like, oh, and you have friends that have better things than you or something, then it just affects you mentally, and just like it drains you and it gets you more tired, and it affects you like in your everyday move.
I do think poverty and like systematic inequalities are a huge societal issue, but I don't believe that they play a huge role in contributing the high school to prison pipeline, because as I've been saying throughout the whole interview, a person will and can only change if they want to change, and if they have that will within them to change.
Huge. But what people don't realize is policymakers is what damages the community, right? Right now, if you look at the lower poverty areas, how many really nice restaurants do they have there? Not many. It's all fast food, right? So, and these fast foods are more expensive than ever before. So a lot of these families can't even afford to feed a family of 2 or 3 or 4. It's going to cost them $100 to go to a McDonald's nowadays, right? Why? Policies. It all comes from the top. These communities are taking the brunt of policymakers, not just in the state, but in our nation, making policies that are hurting the low-income people. So we need to get people in a position to make different policies, create great jobs, right? We're good with our jobs, but the problem is that most families have 2 to 3 jobs. So they just don't have one job. They have one job and then they have a part-time just to make ends meet. That's got to stop. And that's because of inflation and all the stuff that's going on. So we need to bring the price of produce and product and gas and electricity down to a level where our pay can keep up with the increases of inflation. That's a political thing, and that's something that people just need to vote differently to make that happen.